Yeah, there is a certain feeling that we just have to find the right painless cure. I find it strange. We're recording this in May of 2012, and there was an article in the Washington Post just yesterday that Spain maybe is going to reconsider austerity, as if austerity were a choice, a strategic maneuver on the part of some European nations, rather than a reality that when you've spent.
Yeah, it's as though a household who've maxed out their credit card have a choice but to moderate their consumption.
Right. Or now, in theory, you could go get another card, but when you've asked all the people for a new card and they've turned you down because they don't like your past pattern of behavior, right. You can either go to jail or you can cut back. It's not like, well, but cutting back's going to be so painful. Yes, but it's better than going to jail, and there isn't a third alternative if no one will lend you money. Of course, there is. You can quit the Eurozone. You can start printing money of your own, and that's not so pleasant either. But and in that sense, there's a choice. But it's not like they picked the wrong strategy. To me, the right analogy is it's a gambler. He keeps losing and he keeps borrowing money from his friend, and finally his friend says, I don't want to keep lending you money. He says, no, you don't understand. Just give me a little bit more. If I win, I'll make it all back. Well, that's always possible, right? That's the Keynesian, but I'm going to grow so much from your borrowing, it's going to pay itself back and then some. But, sometimes you just get tired of betting on a loser.
Well, countries that are deeply indebted can go into the international bond market and try to sell their bonds, but they're not going to find many takers at any interest rate they're happy paying.
Yeah, that's right.
In the last chapter of the book, I talk about the sovereign debt crisis.
Where do you think we're going?
Well, the United States...
I don't know what I mean by we're, but I don't know where we're going. Where do you think some nations are going?
Well, Greece has already defaulted. It looks like there may be some other partial defaults in Portugal, and I'm not sure about Ireland, but I think you're right. They don't have much choice, but if they want to avoid default, but to try to rebuild their credit, which means making a credible commitment to having the wherewithal to service their debts, which means they can't run large deficits indefinitely. They need a credible plan for bringing in enough revenue minus expenditure to pay the interest and principal on the debt. Whether they're going to be able to do it, well, clearly Greece wasn't able to do it. In the U.S., we've hit 100% of debt to GDP ratio, and the debt keeps growing. The debt keeps growing faster than the economy, so the ratio of debt to GDP keeps rising, and that can't go on forever. And as Herb Stein famously said, if something can't go on forever, it won't.
Yeah, usually true.
Something needs to change. But if we want to avoid falling into the same kind of debt trap that Greece fell into, where there's no way they can afford to roll over their debt. Even if they started running zero deficits tomorrow, when you're paying 12, 15, 20% interest on your debt, the debt is growing faster than the ability to repay it.
When you say they've defaulted, you're saying that because they've forced their creditors to take a loss.
A very large haircut, yes.
Yeah. Going back to philosophical issues, I have to say one of the things